Hey everybody, Season 4 of Magnify is still a few weeks away, but we thought we'd throw in a few bonus episodes. Enjoy a sit-down with Joe Keller, Alan Berthium, and David Fogelsong as they engage in a laughter-filled Truck Buddies episode. Hope you enjoy.
I do have to also say that I am a little self-conscious, even a little neurotic right now about touching my eyes, David.
Oh, man.
I woke up this morning and my eyes were itchy and I'm like, oh no.
Just wash your hands. Mine was leaking a little bit and I freaked out. I was like, I got it.
No, I did this morning and it was like a little crusty and I'm like, oh no, because I was with both you and Ryan. So that's like 4 eyes that had pink eyes.
Our eyes are just dripping as we're talking.
Yeah, because both you and Ryan had massive double pink eye, right? And then you came to work after antibiotics.
Yes.
But again, that didn't help me this morning.
No.
As I was standing there, and I'm like, oh no. And so I'm doing the thing where I'm rubbing my eye with the outside of my wrist. I was doing one of those jobbies. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I realized, no, listen, it's going to be okay. I saw Ryan. I go, hey, Ryan, good morning. He's like, good morning. And it's just like, I mean.
Yeah.
It was it was like Porky Pig got punched in the face. No. Poor guy. Yeah. He's like, I go, hey, how you doing? He's like, I'm a little self-conscious about my face.
And
then of course, in those moments, because I'm an idiot, I lean into it. I'm like, no, you're fine. Hey, don't worry about it. So then I take 2 steps like, man, I gotta wipe my eye with the outside of my wrist because I don't want to get that. Because I don't want to get that.
I'm gonna avoid Pizza the Hut over there. I don't want to get.
I'm sorry.
Me and Ryan were wearing glasses indoors the whole time while we were camping, just because we didn't want our kids to constantly look at us and be like, huh. Literally, our glasses were on, and then we take them off, and it was like, oh gosh, put them back on.
oh no, Daddy. Please put those on.
So, Audrey, I didn't feel like shaving at all. I was just
no.
I just don't want to do anything. And Steph later told me, she came over, she's like, Mom, Daddy looks different. His hair's too long. His eyes look bad. What is happening to him?
Over in the corner, call him. It's like, Daddy, what's happening?
Fish, please, fish.
Throw him some fish. Ryan's just hot compressing and cold compressing. Dude, it was a sight to see.
It was so great. And then I ran into your dad in the parking lot. So I was like, hey, Wayne, blah, blah. He goes, what's the formal word for it?
Conjunctivitis.
Yeah, conjunctivitis. So I was like, hey, Wayne, boy, I hear your boys. He goes, oh, yeah, they both got conjunctivitis. I go, oh my! I guess we're in that space now. And so he's like, it was very, he carries himself that way, very regal. He's like, they both had conjunctivitis. I go, oh, I just thought it was pink eye. But then he starts talking. And then at the end of it, I go, I tell you what, Wayne, I'm such a horrible dad. If I was there, I would have put them both together and have taken a picture. He's like, oh, we totally did that.
We did. Oh yeah.
You
guys see the picture?
Oh, no, are you serious?
Oh yeah, it's a great picture.
Oh, I want to see it.
Pull this up.
Describe it.
I ended up yesterday going to the Disney studio lot, and so we went and we're walking around, and I thought of you. We were looking at some different art stuff, and we were looking at concept art. So there's a way where you can walk through when you're at the Disney lot. You can walk through and the animation studio. Not the one with the big hat, but there's another one that was a part of the original buildings. Okay. And it's most administrative offices. So anyway, so you walk through, but in the hallway, they have the stages of animation, of hand-drawn animation, and then they have concept art and everything like that. And so I was looking at some of the concept art, and it reminded me of Mary Blair.
Yes.
And
very talented.
Right? And so, which also reminded me of that kind of art.
Yes.
And the way this is something that kind of you and I both kind of enjoy.
There was this crossover between the physical objects that Disney made and the paintings. So everything that they did had this crossover and obviously progressed to what it is today, but it's pretty amazing. Pops of color that probably shouldn't be there, like the big scene where Cinderella, the horses are chasing Cinderella after she's left the castle.
Yeah.
And it's like a very like dark blue or purple background, black horses, but then like you could see the capes in red. It's like that shouldn't, like, practically you don't see that because the moonlight isn't showing red, but she made it red. It's like an incredible
It was so cool
decision.
and I saw one of the Mary Blair concept arts was out there and it was from Cinderella. It was the folks that I was with. They're like, who's that? And so then I went down the rabbit's hole and I was like,
nice.
Ted, blah, blah, blah. And then
A lot of that like pop color and big shapes, that's where they were like getting the stuff from. It was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously it holds up till today.
We have animators in Disney in the church.
They do.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I didn't even know Mark Henn until I had gotten here. But of course, one of our sweet receptionists, Debbie Henn, is married to Mark Henn, who made or drew a number of Disney princesses and Simba from The Lion King and whatnot. And sure enough, you go on Disney Plus and you can watch him talking about how people can draw Simba and how the story of like how he drew Simba and why he drew him in certain ways and whatnot. But like his roster is like Ariel, Pocahontas, like Belle, right? Belle, which was like when I grew up, she was the princess. Like that was the big product. It's Belle, Simba, and then
No, I think a lot of people know.
Church.
I think a lot of people know, Alan, that you have a deep movie, TV, history as well.
Great. I knew we were gonna get some.
No, I think that's. I don't think a lot of people know that. You have a nice, rich history. 90210, right?
I was in a season of 90210.
Really?
Of the original.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
I was a kid. I was just an extra. They were filming a whole season here on the beach, and they needed kids, and so my brother and I were part of the group, and so I'm in a number of scenes in the background, and then I get to shoot Jason Priestley with a water gun and stuff. So
that's really cool.
Did commercials and stuff. My brother was in Saved by the Bell for a little while. Picket Fences.
No joke.
Remember. Yeah.
Picket Fences.
Yeah. The story is that my brother was also the runner-up to be a young Forrest Gump in Forrest Gump. He was almost the kid, but then the other kid got it. So,
I think most people can say that they're the runner-up of just about everything. I think it's
nobody questions it, right?
I was the runner-up to go to the Olympics in '78.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, because there's no proof of it anywhere.
Yeah, you never know.
Actually, sorry, it's like my Olympic connection was that my junior high principal won the silver medal in the breaststroke.
In the Olympics?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the deal. Yeah, so that was like my Olympic claim to fame is that I got detention from an Olympic athlete. That's about as close. That's about as close as I'm going to get to the Olympics.
I've been to the Olympics.
Have you really?
We went when we were in England. We went to the London Olympics.
You had to get
England? Like tickets for it. Yeah. Did I tell you what a story?
I was like,
this ongoing joke with Joe and I. Every time I mention, I like drop that I lived in England. Every time
because he'll drop it sometimes. It'd be like, when I was in England, I go, oh, you were in England. You were in England.
Do tell.
It's my favorite thing. It's so nuts.
This humble brag I just drop every now and then.
Yeah,
like when I was in England.
When I was
in the Olympics.
When I was in England. And that was the deal. It's like, oh, I went to the Olympics, because when I was in England. Oh, you were in England? So I always like, whenever I get a chance, just that.
No, but we went to water polo. Of all of Olympic sports to see, we watched water polo. That is a violent sport.
It is.
Man, those guys do not mess around. I have a fear, like when you're in a pool roughhousing anyways, you're like, yeah, can I hold my breath this long? But that's what these guys do for a living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that they're treading water.
Oh, and like
without
kicking
their arms.
at each other and stuff. Yeah, it's a
And by the way, since we're here, the Olympics are coming to LA.
Yeah, man.
And I am going to put in all of my days off. I'm going to say, no, I mean, totally. Like, I'm just telling you, you had how many times, not since, I think it was 84, right? Was the last time.
Yeah, the 80s.
I'm just saying, you don't get the opportunity to go to the Olympics ever, right? I mean, and again, I know it was in Atlanta, but I don't think I would necessarily fly to Atlanta to go to the Olympics.
Yeah,
and no kidding you, every time that the Olympics are on TV, I don't know if you're like this, but it's like, no kidding, for those 2 weeks, I'm up till 1:00 in the morning every single night. And I'm watching doubles, team diving.
Oh, yes.
I can't, they do it so well that they package it and the whole thing. I can't stop. And then I'm watching like equestrian and I'm like, what am I doing? But I can't get enough of it. And I'm like, this is it. I'm saving up all my nickels. I'm getting it together. I'm going to figure out how it's going to work. And then I'm going to go there and just devour it. The production quality on the Olympics is over the top.
Yeah.
So they literally have 4 years. So they're creating camera angles, packages, toss it. I mean, just the whole production quality of showcasing all of that, let alone the drama of it, right? The fact that, this person's been training for 4 years and they get up to this starting block and their shoes untied and boop, there's another 4 years.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like the tension of it, the whole thing. It's like, I can't get enough of it. And so I'm sitting there just eating Cheetos, sitting on my couch, watching these high stellar athletes. And I'm like, man, that's the best ever. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy a bunch of sunblock. I'm going to get a big hat. I'm going to get probably a tank top that says USA all day. And I'm going to go for it.
Great, man.
USA all day.
All day.
That's nice.
That's great, man.
I saw that
Local man.
I saw that
Spotted eating
Local, not
Cheetos.
No,
Yeah.
I saw that at Kohl's. I went into Kohl's to return Amazon, which is the only time you go to Kohl's, right?
Yeah.
So I'm returning Amazon, and then Kohl's wins, right? Because I wouldn't naturally go into Kohl's, So I go to Kohl's for Amazon, and then I come back and I'm like, you always forget all the stuff that's in Kohl's. So then I end up spending an hour and a half at Kohl's, and so like Kohl's totally wins.
Yeah.
So I go in and I'm like, I return this thing, and they go, oh, Kohl's. That's right. I can get a shirt for $9.99, and this will work, and it'll work. So I was in there, and they had a shirt. They had a shirt that said USA all day on it.
I had a shirt for 4th of July that had a bald eagle on it,
saw that.
and it said
was
"Bald
nice.
is beautiful,"
Oh, really?
which is fitting.
Speaking of something, Cameron just shoved into my face what we're supposed to be talking about.
No, he's like,
so-
please stop talking about.
He's like, please stop
Shirts.
talking about shirts.
Can we talk about Shark Week? It is Shark Week this week.
Oh man,
Dude, I hate Shark Week.
don't
you
like-
hate-
I
can't
grew up
do it.
watching Shark Week, and I'm
No,
like,
I
oh,
can't
wait,
do it.
nothing's changed in the
No,
content that you're producing.
No,
Dude, before you
no.
continue to talk, I should preface that like my family sees it as a national holiday every single year.
You let your kids watch Shark Week?
Bro, we not only we put up shark related paraphernalia all throughout the house. It's everywhere. We have a giant tent
It's a holiday.
shaped like a shark that extends from the ceiling down to the middle of the room.
Do
we
your
have shark
children
stuff
swim in the
everywhere.
open water?
Not really. They're 9 and 5, so there's not a lot of backstroking in the open ocean, Joe.
I'm just saying, Millie's gonna go on a like junior high beach day, and they're like, "Hey, come on, Millie." She's like, "No,
No,
no, I'm good." Why is that? Because my dad made a tent out of shark when I was
No, just
when
to
I
be
was
clear,
a kid.
it's not handmade. I didn't like sew together
It's like,
a
come on,
shark-related
kids!
tent.
Come on, kids! Wake up! Wake up! We're all gonna have tomato juice and
No, but we do make shark related like things. We have it's like you get blue jello for the ocean or a little whipped cream, right? And you get Swedish fish and you put them in there, right? It's cute.
Are you being
That's cute.
serious?
Graham cracker crust for the sand.
Do you
Yes.
do you record and watch later? You watch live? What do we do?
So this year you can stream it. You can stream the bits that you want to watch, and so we'll watch them. Ones that are more appropriate for kids, that we'll watch as a family. But then the other ones, and
Yeah,
we'll
without the
watch
murdering
later.
of multiple
Yeah, it's
fish
like
and-
wow, that guy got bit by a bull shark. And like, we'll save that one from the kids this year,
By the way, it is always the bull shark.
dude. Don't mess with
Every time. That's right. I know, good on you making it a Shark Week. We did that one time, and none of my children will go beyond their,
That's my fear.
all of them.
It's like once
Yeah.
they see it, they're like, so my kids swim out in the open ocean.
No, that's
And I'm
the
like,
thing.
oh,
Like,
then you won't go out there
Yep.
because you're afraid there's a
Yep.
shark underneath.
all of my children, and you've seen my children. I mean, they're young adults, and they just like open ocean is because we did Shark Week once, and we didn't even like make a tent or do Jello stuff or anything like that.
To
It
be
was
fair, I
just-
feel like Shark Week, if more now than ever, has been like sharks are fine. You're not going to get hurt by sharks, and even on the TV today, they've been talking about how in Carpinteria and in the local beaches here, how there are more sharks than usual, and they don't hurt any. But no one's gotten bit this year.
Hold on, hey
But
Steph,
they've
can you
been-
cancel our beach trip?
no, that's not.
My kids were at the beach yesterday, and
No,
my
that's
son
what-
was playing in the water. But
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like that. It's that fact that my children don't. They actually have. Have you swam out to the deck out there?
I have
haven't
not.
swum
I've
with
seen
it.
it, but I've not done it.
Oh,
No,
dude.
it's cool.
Yeah, I'm telling you what. When you're out there, you have one thought: Shark Week.
Shark. Yeah.
Yeah. Something's in the
It's
water.
the swim back, right? You're like, ugh.
No, but you got it's actually but it does when you're out there. It looks like that platform that's in Jaws.
The only time I felt the most like I
Right.
was going to get attacked by a shark was I was kayaking from Catalina toward the mainland of California. And then my buddies and I decided
Wait,
we're all going to jump out.
Time out.
Yeah.
You were what?
Kayaking in a kayak. I don't know how to explain that any better. We're in a kayak.
So the trek was kayaking
From Catalina Island
to-
toward the
Okay.
mainland of
Yeah, that's an
California.
uncommon way to travel.
Yeah,
From
no,
Brent, no,
no,
we
no,
were-
no. I
yeah.
just was. I'm going to overlook his tone, but when I was just saying that what I heard him say was I was kayaking from Catalina to the mainland.
That's what you were saying, right?
Correct. I wasn't planning on ending the journey, if that makes sense. We were just in the direction toward the mainland.
Oh.
That's what, and
No,
that
this
was
is-
and that
sorry,
was my
hold on,
kind,
this is
and
a-
that was my kind clarifying question.
understand.
That then you
Thank
attacked
you.
like
Forget
a
the
bull
ferry.
shark.
I can
You
make this
attacked like
trek.
a bull shark. Like,
I'm
hey,
gonna bring
oh,
it-
what are you talking about, Joe? Kayaking? Where are you? You live in a hole?
Hold
and
on,
I'm like,
I'm gonna
no,
bring it
listen, I
full
was
circle
asking a
for you.
question,
I'm-
and then
I'm-
you I think honestly, I think that aggressiveness comes from all
Shark
of your
Week,
Shark Week.
probably. I'm going to bring it full circle. So we're making this trek out. We decide we're going to jump out of the canoe or the kayaks and swim for a bit in the open ocean. We do that, and it's the moment when you're in the open ocean trying to get back into a kayak that is the most frightening moment, because that's the moment you're splashing, you're
Yes.
flailing, and you can't really quite get in, and that's the moment I felt like, oh, this is when I die. And I got in the kayak, was fine. We get back to Catalina. There's a guy on the deck waving us in, like frantically. And we get there and the guy goes,
sheesh.
"What are you doing? Are you fools? Like, this is the most shark infested water in the world between Catalina and
Oh, 'cause the
California."
breeding grounds.
And sure enough, Google it, between Catalina and California, there are more sharks per whatever than anywhere else in the world. So, but I didn't die. I didn't get bit or anything. So, hey, you guys want to go kayaking next week, Catalina?
Okay, I
you
need
so-
to.
thank
I
you
just
so
need
much
one
for
more
sharing that story.
clarification.
I just again,
You were not
again,
planning on going from
Correct.
Catalina to
I
the
was-
mainland
I
in a
was not.
kayak.
We were just
okay, you're
goofing
just
around in
aimed.
kayaks.
Okay,
The direction we were headed
Just trying to-
is toward the mainland.
trying to get my head around.
See, that's why I thought I was
I'm
going to
like,
bring it full
dude,
circle.
good on you.
It's just a real. I was into
So,
aerobics a lot.
I was walking from Santa Clarita to San
Francisco.
Diego.
Yeah.
I was walking in the other day, Alan, I was walking in the direction of San Diego.
I decided
And I
to
was-
ride
and
my
I was
bike
like-
from Santa Clarita to the direction of Mammoth.
Right.
And then, wait a minute, you're gonna ride your bike to Mammoth?
Right about. Right
No,
about.
I'm not gonna ride to.
Right about downtown Newhall. I was. Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious! Anyway, again, Cameron showed me the list again.
We have an official.
And Sarah, I think, literally fell asleep. she was over there in the corner. She's like, "This is
She's
the most
cranking out normal
boring."
work.
She's about, this is like, yeah. They're just like, why are we doing hard pivot? This was your speaking of kayaking from Catalina Island.
In the direction of the
in the
mainland.
direction of the mainland. It's so funny. It's like, thank you so much for that specific direction.
And
I was in my kayak looking back at Catalina with my feet towards the
Wait a
south. Anyway, speaking of kayaking, this was your first summer adventure, Alan.
this was my first. Yeah. This was my first summer adventure. It was
And
fantastic.
so speaking of overwhelming directional type events, being the guy that's gonna overlook your tone. How did you kind of feel being a part of it? Obviously, now that you're in the chair and working with the team, both behind the scenes and giving direction, as well as a dad with Millie and and Silas. I don't know what were some of your big walkaways, both experiencing it and being a part of the leadership. What were some of the things for you that?
Yeah, Summer Adventure was amazing. I've been a part of VBS for a long time in different contexts and different places. And Joe, I don't know if you know, but I lived in England for a little while, and we did summer
Oh, do
programs there
tell.
as well. But
Did you
anyways,
you do
nothing,
VBS in England?
nothing like
VBS? Is that how they say it out there?
no,
are you going
that
to
is not how
VBS?
this-
Are you going to VBS on Tuesday?
We appreciate all of our British listeners.
Please don't stop listening. Summer Adventure was really impactful for my family and for my kids. They loved it. It was perhaps the most involved they've been able to be in a summer program like that. And our church does such a fantastic job on every facet, right? It's not just the big assemblies and the parts that I don't know, that we would maybe put in a video up on the main screen. It's the little details to how we design our campus that week, the people who are there to help, and the feedback we have gotten over and above anything else is how much people appreciated the people who were serving. Right? It's the folks who were there pouring into the kids, who were serving and helping and blessing the kids that week to learn more about who God is and then what that means for our relationship with Him. So it's been such an amazing thing, even on this end. Now looking back to it, to see the responses that are coming in, the survey responses that we're getting are unbelievable, and we should be sharing those regularly because they're so good. People were saying this was what got their kids back going to church. As a family, they're now going to church here. This is what got their kids reading the Bible. People were naming other volunteers by name, saying this person blessed my son as a table leader and whatnot. So just from every facet of Summer Adventure, it was such a blessing to see how God brought all of these uniquely gifted people together to bless all of these kids, and it was such a triumph, really.
What are some of the things that you and the team are really kind of looking forward to as you head into the fall, thinking about adult and family ministries, kind of that K through college, XYZs, building off of that? What are some of the things that you and your team are kind of targeting, looking forward to? Maybe give us an insight on that.
Sure. I think as a leadership team, we've been talking even more. Joe and I have been spending some time together talking through that. A lot of our programs tend to get highlighted, but really the focus is people of a program, right? It's intentionality with individuals and not just throwing something up that's flashy. And I think we learned that from Summer Adventure. Yes, Summer Adventure does, I think, appeal in the big eye-catching way, but it really is the people that make it, right? That really make it shine so well. And so in the same way as we're looking into student ministries, as we're looking to college ministries, we're trying to accentuate opportunity for people to be together, right? For iron sharpening iron, that type of process. For our events is more important than simply having a big showcase, if that makes sense.
What is it, Alan? We talk about this. And when you talk about like leadership and discipleship, when we're around the table, you kind of talk about it like, oh, that's what you do, right? It's more like it's very intuitive. You kind of feel it. But yet in terms of discipleship and training and development, to really kind of break that down to help someone else to be able to walk into a room and to be intentional about that. What are some of the things that when you walk into a room and you're wanting to take an event, so it's a pizza event, it's whatever, that kind of thing, and you walk in and you're thinking this program is a conduit for relationships.
Yeah.
What are some of the things when you walk into the door that you look for? What are the things that you're aware of? And then what are some like walkaways for you? You're like, oh, I walked away in an event highlighting relational forward because I was faithful to lean into these kinds of things. Walk us into your thinking on that.
Oftentimes, if even on a Wednesday night walking into the Wednesday evening programming, I'm looking for our staff interacting with the students. Are they actually spending time talking about life and reality, or are the kids sort of by themselves and just playing foosball or doing things? I'll be the one to go and engage, right? Just to be there and say, hey, what's up, guys? And encourage our other staff to not just be by ourselves. We don't want to be isolating. We're trying to do is create a culture of belonging, of people feeling like, hey, it matters that I'm here. Not that there's people here or that every chair is filled, but that I as a human being am here. And that's so important for unity in the church, is that sense that I'm uniquely gifted by God, right? That God has created me as an individual, that if I'm not serving, if I'm not using my gifts and using my talents and being a vibrant part of the body of Christ, then it actually hurts the church as a whole. and that there's not another me, and therefore there's not another you in this church, right? There might be people who share some of the gifts that you have, but not in the same unique structure that you have them. And so therefore, you're the only you, right? And I was talking about this on Sunday with the high school students. You're the only you in this church. And if you're not a vibrant part of this church, if you're not a vibrant part of this community, it's the church who suffers, right? Like we want you invested.
So then how
in this
how
community.
does someone intentionally communicate that to another person in an event?
Yeah, I think it starts with a couple of things. The first is just attention is number one.
Yeah.
Give somebody else attention. Note that they are there, right? Try and ask their name. If you don't remember their name, hey, what's your name? What's going on? Take an interest in them as an individual. And then that follows up with genuine investment in that person. So if they start sharing things like, I'm struggling with this, or here's what's going on in my life, or my grandmother's in the hospital, that's an important aspect that they're sharing with you. You should make a note of, and that the next time you see them, you're bringing those important aspects up, right? You're saying, hey, how's your grandma, right? What happened with the hospital visit last week? So that person not only recognizes that you see that they are there, but now they see an investment in them that, oh, actually you care about me. And then it goes into serving them, finding a way to meet their needs. If you want to increase somebody's belonging in a group, find ways that they have needs and see how we as a church can fill those needs. And then the last aspect of that, I think, is finding a place for them to use their gifts, right? Finding somewhere for them to feel useful. Because when you're plugged in and you're serving and you're using your gifts, you feel like you want to be a part of that group. And that if you're not going to be there on Sunday, that it's a bummer, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to do what I want to be able to do and serve. So those kind of four things are.
See, it's interesting because belonging really is reciprocal, right?
Sure, man.
There's this echo back in relationship that happens in belonging. So I'm going to take an interest, curiosity, understand, to recognize, to find joy in an individual, but belonging doesn't happen really until that either gets shared with someone else or gets reciprocated back. That there really is this beautiful play that happens that's really filled with joy. You'd use these words like, taking an interest and curiosity. That really is what intentionality is going, listen, I'm going to walk in intentionally, not thinking primarily about myself, but I'm actually going to enjoy myself, right? I'm going to have joy in the curiosity and the interest of others. And I think that's really where humility comes from. It's not really that, it's this self-forgetfulness and finding joy and delight into who others are and how Jesus is expressed in them in the body of Christ, in the way that they're uniquely gifted. This renewed emphasis, or just a reminder, resetting the table again, coming back to first principles of going, yeah, in the end, we love making things, we love shiny things, we love great programming. I mean, obviously we do, right? I mean, it's the joy of it. But it really is the purpose that those serve a purpose. Even Sunday mornings, if you think about it, like if Ryan was in here, I mean, all the level of production and thoughtfulness and intentionality that goes into a Sunday morning, that in the end, that's not the point of a Sunday morning. That in the end, the goal of the pulpit, of singing, of all that is to have the word of God move into the hearts of God's people so that they might resonate, encourage, unify, and then apply what it means to belong and to live as a human being under the lordship of Christ. And you can't do that in isolation, right?
For sure, man.
You can't do that in isolation. And a program can't create that. And that's what's so interesting, I think, Alan, about where we talk about these things, and specifically the conversations that you're having with your team, because it's just in your DNA, is that you go, look, a program can't create that. Like it just can't. A system can't create that. That only within the context of interpersonal relationship does human flourishing and discipleship really happen. And that was your point about Summer Adventure. You're going, yeah, Summer Adventure is like, I mean, probably if we think about it, probably the most comprehensive ministry effort that we do as a church in terms of the amount of people, the amount of staff, it's spectacularly beautiful. But in the end, the walkaway was not the production. The walkaway and the goal is always in the context of people knowing and understanding who Jesus is and then living that out in a context of belonging. David, you and I have talked so much about that because you create things. I mean, that's really what you do, right?
Yeah.
You create things, but it's not about the thing.
Yeah, it's never about the thing.
So how does intentionality and relationship and belonging relate to what we're producing in terms of design, graphics, publications, signage, all the things that you bring a high level of intentionality and design to? How does belonging and how does communication in terms of what we're doing as a church relate to the intentionality of design?
Intentionality is really just the motivation to be able to produce something in a manner that is not self-serving. You're thinking about other people. So our whole department is never thinking about ourselves. It's always, what are we doing for someone else? And that's just how it's supposed to be.
So good. Yeah.
So for our church family, when we're producing streams or if we're meeting with people about stories, we're not thinking about, man, this is like hitting me like this, but how is this going to hit the Grace Baptist family?
Right.
How is it going to hit a junior higher, and how is it going to hit an XYZer? So we're like, how is this going to be received? How are they going to hear it? And so it's like we're always thinking in that manner. When we're doing booklets or publications, when Aaron or David Hegg or Joe or, Alan, if we're writing stuff, how am I going to visually package it in a way that's, number one, beautiful and interesting, but how does it support what's already being written? So how am I taking what's written and drawing out of that a visual aspect of it? So anything that we're doing is like, how are our people going to receive it, and how does it solve the problem for people to be equipped to do the work of ministry? Like, that's the only thing. When I wake up most mornings, it's like, how are our people going to be equipped to do the work of ministry through design and storytelling? Like, that's all I ever think about.
Because you're utilizing beauty and art and words and pictures, and you're employing those essential pieces.
Yes, to communicate messages, but it's also in support of what we have, the written word, or things that are being written and said. So it's like, I'm literally in a position to put two of my most favorite things together, which is art and design and really biblical content. Like, that's the moneymaker.
What would you say is the end goal? Somebody, out of all the stuff that you're intentional about, art and design and communication, what would you hope that, and we've talked about this, right? That in the end, you just like that you drive back to the same main goal every time, and articulate that for me.
Yeah, let's see if I can articulate that for you. Yeah, I think ultimately it's worship.
Yep.
Ultimately it's worship.
Yep.
I want personally what I do to be a worshipful sacrifice to our Savior. So when I'm like creating something and I'm like, well, that's trash, which happens most days. I'm like designing stuff. I'm like, that's just going in the scrap. My intention, I hope, would be like, the Lord would be pleased with my intention for creating those things, which is never self-serving. It's always for someone else. But I want it to be beautiful, and I want it to ultimately be glorifying to God, primarily. Secondly, it's like, how does it help our people to see how good God is, or to consume something that will only benefit them? So it's not art for art's sake that won't benefit their spiritual life. Sure. It's art that push forward the growth in their Lord in some sort of manner. It could be very simple, or it could be very, complex.
So good, man.
And what I love is that kind of intentionality comes into directional signage. And it's just like, and again, I mean, full disclosure, like, one of my favorite spaces in all of the Grace Baptist campus is being up there with David and his team. I delight in it. It's life-giving to me because it's intentionality on steroids. I just like, it's your thing. And with the end goal of how do we mobilize people to follow Jesus in the context of relationships, to
Absolutely.
Put him on display in our valley, in our hearts, and around the world. And so then all of a sudden, how things are put together and solving problems to be able to present those things in the context of creativity and beauty and thought and wrestling, that the craft of that, like a carpenter, right? Or someone who's constructing a sermon, or somebody who's designing a play for a football team or a ballet, that the thought and intention of direction and all those things, that it's not just for the sake of the thing.
Yes.
It's just never about the thing.
Yes.
And actually, David and I talked with Alan. I've said this before. Just David and I come up with little phrases, but one of it that we talk about is, it's never about the thing, but we like making things.
Yeah.
We enjoy. I enjoy the presentation of a room. I like it when a high schooler walks into a room and
this is cool.
Yeah, and it
Right.
it speaks, and they're like, wait a minute. But then in that space, that they realize that the space is not the point,
Right.
Correct.
but rather that is belonging. And it really goes back to kind of the book of Ecclesiastes and all these other ones, where you go, listen, all of these things are good, but they're not great. They're all good, but they're not prime. They're not what draws me into my identity and my belonging.
They fit into that category of 1 Corinthians 10 where you can eat and drink to the glory of God. Do all things, therefore, right? You can do everything. So with even this space that we're creating it for the glory of God, not just because it's cool, right? Like
what's so fantastic is that I probably would think that the majority of the people who hit our campus can't digest or cognitively identify that.
Yes.
So they see something and they can't put words to it, but they can feel it.
Yeah.
There's an experiential thing that's happening to them.
There is,
Yeah.
because that's the difference between service and hospitality. Service is just delivering a product. Hospitality, in the end, cares about how the person feels, their experience, how it moves them.
Well said.
And that's why hospitality is this biblical framework. It's a paradigm that elders actually are called to be hospitable. That's a context. So that when we're talking about creating a space, and it's not about the thing, it's not about the space, but rather it's about the people belonging within that space, which with intention, so that somebody might know and follow Jesus in the context of relationships for his glory and for my joy. And that's why the process of creating matters.
Because people matter.
Yeah, because the way in which you do that, the way in which you go about it, how you craft together, how you build a team to produce those things, that even the process itself, like what you were talking about, David, that actually the process of designing a Wednesday night, of creating a design on something, of being able to put together a Sunday morning, that in the end, the process of doing that has to be an act of worship itself.
Correct.
Because in the end, a person, even though they can't identify the details, that they can sense in the end that the process was done as an act of worship. It's interesting to me that somebody once said, that they're like, oh, I can tell that this, that these cookies are baked with love,
Right.
And I think what they're trying to articulate is, I know that you were intentional. You were intentional and you were thoughtful, that the way in which you went about this was thoughtful of others, and yea, verily, actually thoughtful of me. And I think that's when people come and they're like, man, you're being thoughtful of me. What's wonderful about it is that in the end, they never celebrate a design or a person or a program. In the end, the real get is that they go, wait a minute, the reason why they're intentional is because they want me to know and to walk with Jesus alongside them and to belong with them. And I think that's something that I just drink deeply of.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why it's, I have an odd and very healthy and broad appetite for just about everything. And that's why being with the team, it's like Jared and Aaron and Mike and you and Alan, being in the room, and of course Ryan, because I never forget Ryan.
You never forget Ryan.
I always forget Ryan. All of those guys, when we're in the room together, even though we're not talking about, we're talking about things, And everybody kind of contributes and thinks about it, because even though you have adult and family ministries and corporate worship and outreach and design and facilities and operations, in the end, what unites our hearts together is this intentionality that whatever it is, that we're gonna do that in a way that honors and designs towards people knowing and following Jesus. That kind of thoughtfulness, honestly, brother, is why you and Anna make blue Jell-O with whipped cream. Not being serious. Why you make a tent. Why you create
Again, I did not make the tent, just by hand or whatnot.
Pointed
Can I
towards.
see it so I can judge it?
Sure.
So, but all
than
that.
welcome,
But
sir.
think about it, though. But think about it.
Thanks, man.
What we've been talking about is not something that falls under the responsibility of a staff, of a pastor, of a designer, of a vocational, but actually it's in the ordinary moments of creating intentional spaces and moments
Sure.
so that you can cultivate belonging. And that's what Shark Week is, right? It's like you're doing those things. You're going, listen, we're going to create a sense of family. We're going to create a sense of belonging. We're going to do things, and
It's
we're
not
going to
about Shark Week.
celebrate.
Yeah,
and
it really is.
do
Even
things,
that
but
for-
it's
for
not
us to be
about
a family
It's not about
together.
all those things.
In the same
It's
way, we're
about
talking
it's something
about us
that
as, the senior staff getting in a room together.
Yeah.
There's something about our senior staff family that is very, very much a microcosm of the church family, where everybody has these so unique gifts, right? And you wouldn't necessarily put us each in the room. Like, I'm not going to sit with David and draw. You know what I mean? Still, the idea that we have different gifts, all for the same goal, right? All for the same purpose, is such a picture of our church family. People gather here not because one aspect is so amazing, but because every part supplies, right, for the building up of the body, which is the joy.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite things about when we get together is we're all very, very concerned about the why.
Right.
Oh yeah.
It's not the what.
Yeah.
And I think anytime like a what gets thrown, it's like there's like a zzz, zzz.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
wait.
Circuit.
Why are we doing that? Like, why do we want to do that? Like, what's the motivation? What's the reason why? And I think the why has always been figured out for us. So we can start to make and create things because we know like this is for God's glory and for his people. And so we just start to produce things out of that. And it's like, yeah, we got the why. Like,
And what's cool is that in the process of doing that, I get to experience belonging with you guys.
Yeah.
That there's an enjoyment that the intentionality and thinking and being around the room together actually, as a process of that we get to practice and enjoy and to relate to and experience what it means to belong in that kind of context.
Mhm.
And I think that's something that I just thank the Lord for. You know what, as we think about and kind of wrap up our time, it just was nice to hang out. That was my other landing point, because Cameron again shoved something in my face and said, "You have 5 minutes, and if you don't land the plane, then you're going to be done."
Land this
Yeah, that's
plane.
what we're
if you don't
doing.
land a plane, I will. On the back
That's
end.
right. And 3, 2, 1. Thanks, everybody. He's going to pull the plug. Well, thanks for hanging out. And again, obviously, Cam and Sarah, thanks for producing. And thanks for listening to our little Magnify podcast. It's a really great opportunity just to hang out and to be together. So thanks for listening. We appreciate it.